It took me over 60 hours to beat Terra's campaign in Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep. Wow, that doesn't sound impressive like at all now that I'm saying it out loud. So I really like grinding in video games, so much so that I spent over 250 hours and close to 500 hours grinding to max level in the tutorials of Kingdom Hearts 1 and Kingdom Hearts 2 respectively. And now that I've completed 2 early game grinds in the Kingdom Hearts series, I'm kinda locked into completing every game at this point, which if we're going down the list, that means Birth by Sleep's egg is next. You might have noticed that this grind took almost no time at all, in comparison to the other games I mentioned anyway, because 60 hours is still a good chunk of time to reach max level in any video game. So why was the grind so fast? Well, it's because of a little ability called XP Walker, which grants the character with 1 experience for every step taken. Which sounds super busted, and don't get me wrong, it definitely is, but it's not as simple as the game plopping the ability into your menu, activating it, and then running around without 0 work done on your end. So the combat in Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep is centered around the command deck, which are moves like Fire, Blizzard, Sliding Dash, Cure, etc. And while you can just mash normal attack all the way to victory, you'll be missing out on a lot of the fun because some of the more fun commands are hidden away behind the melding system, which is where you fuse together the more basic commands in the game to make some borderline game-breaking commands at times. But this melding system is also how you unlock abilities in the game. So instead of unlocking Leaf Bracer at level 27 like you would in the first Kingdom Hearts, you first need to acquire 2 arrow commands, slap them into the melding pot with its relevant ingredient. In this instance, it's a pulsing crystal. And then you'll need to completely level up that new command in order to have Leaf Bracer as a permanent toggle ability in the menu. At the end of the day, it's just grinding for materials instead of grinding for basic experience points in order to unlock abilities, which is about the same amount of work. So then, how do you get XP Walker in Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep, and how can you get it in the tutorial? Well, you can't really unlock XP Walker in the tutorial for this game. Matter of fact, you can't even earn experience at all during the tutorial. So I kinda lied in the title, but don't blame me. It's the game's fault for being set up the way it is. So for this early game grind, we're considering the Enchanted Domain as Birth by Sleep's tutorial. But now that we've gotten that cleared up, let's get back to XP Walker. There are a few melding combinations that will get you the ability. There's Quick Blitz plus Blizzara, Poison Edge plus Cura, Blizzard plus Arrow, Magnet plus Arrow, and Zero Gravira plus Poison. Since we can't leave the Enchanted Domain for this grind, we're pretty limited on the recipes, especially considering that Terra only has 1 of these commands in his arsenal by default, and that's Quick Blitz. So how do we get XP Walker without leaving the Enchanted Domain? You might want to prepare yourself for this one. We gotta go to the command board. There's not enough time in the world to explain how disgusting the command board is, but for the purpose of this grind, it truly is a godsend. The command board is a great way to get commands very early in the game, and it can be accessed right from the pause menu. And what's even better is that you don't even need to win the game in order to keep the commands that you picked up during the game. But what's even better is that this corner right here will always either have Blizzard or Arrow. So all you have to do is take over the spot on the board, run around, pray that the NPCs don't take it away from you for Arrow, and then do it again for Blizzard, run to the meld station, and boom, XP Walker. Except it's not entirely that simple. Remember that ingredient I mentioned earlier that's needed as part of the recipe for the specific abilities? Well, the earliest you can get the ingredient needed to unlock XP Walker, which is the Abounding Crystal, isn't actually available until Radiant Gardens, which is off limits for this challenge. So does that mean this early game grind isn't possible in the Enchanted Domain? Surprisingly, no. You see, the ingredients tied to unlocking the abilities isn't actually required during the melding process. The ingredient just gives you a 100% chance of unlocking the ability, and when you remove that material from the equation, you're left with a whopping 1% chance of unlocking that ability, which by my calculations means it's definitely possible. With all that in mind, I fired up a new game on critical mode, selected Terra, failed the Mark of Mastery exam, zoomed away on Terra's space travel mobile, landed on the Enchanted Domain, played the command board for about an hour, acquired Blizzard and Arrow, saved my game's progress, and melded commands together and save scummed if I did get XP Walker. Luckily, it only took 5 tries to get the ability, so it was nice to have RNG on my side for a change. So now that I had the ability in my hands, I could start the challenge and grind my way to level 99, but I wasn't quite ready to do so yet because there was one more ability that was at Terra's fingertips that would make this grind so much easier, and that's the XP chance ability. This ability grants double XP when Terra's health is at critical, and it too can be acquired without leaving the enchanted domain. And it also stacks with XP Walker, so instead of 1 experience per step, you get 2 experience per step. It only requires melding 2 Magneras together, which means another trip back to the command board, but this time we had a date with this spot on the board, which always has the magnet command. But wait, doesn't the recipe call for 2 Magneras and not 2 magnets? Yep, that's right. But the cool thing about the commands in this game is once you unlock them by any means, they become purchasable items in the Moogle shops, and there just so happens to be a shop in Aurora's chambers. So thankfully, we don't have to spend any more time in the command board. So now the only thing we need is money, which we can get from the Universe right outside of Aurora's room. Now we can't go past this threshold because we'll trigger the first boss encounter, and right after that encounter, Terra leaves the world, so we are officially locked between Aurora's room, her lookout, and this hallway. So it took a couple of hours, but I purchased an additional magnet, grinded the commands to level 3 using the Universe in the hallway, melded for Magnera, purchased another Magnera using the money I accumulated during the command level grinding, leveled both Magneras to level 3, saved my game's progress, and save scummed until I unlocked the XP chance ability with tier 3 magnet. So now I was officially ready to start the grind. My original plan was to strictly use the XP Walker plus XP chance combo and walk my way to level 99, but I quickly abandoned that because I was not about to get burnt out on another Kingdom Hearts early game grind. There's a reason it took me over a year to return to the level grinds after the end of the Twilight Town grind, which if you haven't seen that video, the link is in the description. But if you have seen the video, go ahead and double check that you're subscribed to the channel. Don't worry, I'll wait. So what I ended up doing for this grind is walking for one level and then fighting Unverse the next level, and then walking the next level and then fighting Unverse the next level, etc. I did have XP Walker and XP Chance equipped for both of these sections, so even when I was fighting Unversed, I was still getting my steps in. Don't worry, I can already hear you asking why I didn't just tie the sticks on my controller together and walk away while I let the game run in the background. And there's 2 reasons I didn't do that. The first is that I had to put in work during the Kingdom Hearts 1 and Kingdom Hearts 2 grinds, and if I didn't do that with Birth by Sleep, it would feel like a slap in the face to the other early game grinds. And reason 2, tying the sticks together wouldn't be me doing the grind, it would be the game doing the grind. But let's go ahead and break down some numbers. During the purely walking sections of the grind, I averaged around 366 experience a minute with the XP Walker plus XP Chance combo active. And during the unversed fighting sections of the grind, I was able to earn around 560 experience a minute with the XP Walker plus XP Chance combo active. The unversed sections were very reminiscent of the Twilight Town grind because I needed to stay at critical health so I could get that double experience, which meant more dodge the health orb simulator. Except this time around, it was very easy to dodge those health orbs because during the command leveling, I was able to generate a good amount of money, so I stocked up on a full deck of 5 tier 3 magnets and just obliterated the groups of enemies. But just like with every grind, I'm always looking for a way to optimize it to the best of my abilities, and the unversed fighting section was pretty much at its limits thanks to the tier 3 magnet spamming, so the only thing I could look at was the walking section, which at this point was just me spinning the left thumbstick around in a circular motion until I discovered that wiggling the control stick is way better. I was able to upgrade that 366 experience a minute yield to a crazy 830 experience a minute yield. That's like a 227% increase just by slightly adjusting the method. Now, wiggling the stick together was harder to control because I locked myself in Aurora's outlook during the walking sections because I was too scared to do this section in the big foyer right before the threshold because I didn't want to accidentally trigger that first boss encounter. And also, wiggling the control stick is just very tiring. But then it dawned on me. I'm using the PC version of Birth by Sleep, which means I have access to the keyboard for movement. So out of pure curiosity, I switched to mashing the keys on my keyboard for the walking sections and averaged a whopping 1032 experience a minute. So basically the way XP Walker works, as I understand it anyway, is that it uses your placement on the map to trigger a step. which then triggers the earned experience from the ability. So when you're using a keyboard, every time you mash down on a key, that counts as one step, which means as long as you're not against a wall, you can just spam click the keys on your keyboard. And the best part is, it's way less taxing on the hands than wiggling the control stick around. Don't get me wrong though, doing this method is still carpal tunnel any percent, even if you equipped your movement to the arrow keys so you can use two hands like I did. So for 70 levels, it was a nice balance of fighting and walking every other level, but eventually it got to a point where the walking levels were taking less than an hour and the fighting levels were taking about an hour and a half. So I decided that I was going to put my hands under immense distress and just walk my way from level 70 to 99, because to be honest, even though this grind was super fast as far as eggs are concerned, it was so boring and I just wanted to be done with it. So, after locking in for the last 29 levels and frantically mashing the keys on my keyboard, here's what happened. Alright, 699 experience. That's a little over 30 seconds. It'll happen when it happens. 30 seconds. Any minute, any second. Any second now. Level 99! Woo! You were here. You were here. You were here. You were here. You were all here. You were all here. Level 99. Oh, I gotta pause the timer. Another one down. Level 99, 0 XP to the next level. 2,304,667. No matter how you slice it, this was a very quick early game grind at 60 hours, 3 minutes, and 53 seconds, which averages out to about 36 minutes a level. But what about Ventus and Aqua? Well, just stay tuned for those grinds. I don't plan on live streaming the process with them because I feel justified in only suffering through one character in each game that has multiple characters, so I will be automating them in some regard. So just make sure you're subscribed. But now that Terra is max level at the beginning of the game, I think you guys know what's coming next.
Yeah, we did it! We did it, you guys. We're totally heroes. What do we do now? What do you mean? Now we can finally play the game. Oh yeah.
So before I started putting every boss in a pressure cooker, I still needed to do some planning because by this point, I've only played through Terra's campaign once, and the only thing I remember is that Thunder Surge is goated. So along with Thunder Surge, I made a list of abilities that I probably wouldn't need for a max level playthrough, but I didn't want to get caught with my pants down and accidentally die during a playthrough because that's just embarrassing. So now that I was level 99 and had my grocery list ready, it was finally time to cross the threshold and take on the Wheelmaster. Upon meeting it face to face, I immediately activated Ventus's D-Link and absolutely melted its health bar in 16 seconds. Light spoiler, but that's pretty much how 99% of the bosses are gonna go. Terra's base movement is so sloggy that it would be a crime to not use something to speed him up, and in this case, Ventus's D-Link is perfect. Oh, and the reason bosses aren't falling after one hit is because there are damage caps in this game, just like with the other Kingdom Hearts games. But with the Wheelmaster all clogged up, it was time to visit the Moogle shop so I could start working on getting the abilities on my list, and first up was Second Chance. I decided to go with the Cura plus Cura recipe so that I could kill two birds with one stone, because even at max level, I would definitely need to use Cure at least once. Next, it was time to head to the Dwarf Woodlands where I cheesed my way onto this platform so I could get Flame Salvo, and then I spammed black holes until I made it to the Magic Mirror where I activated Ventus's D-Link and put that creepy mask health bar in a blender. The whole encounter took 17 seconds. By this point, my base level cures were ready to be turned into Curas, so I went ahead and took care of that and then made my way to the Castle of Dreams. This is when I realized that while it was cool to have the demolition finishing command this early in the game, it was actually costing me a bunch of time because it's such a long lasting move. So I quickly unequipped it in favor for the less time wasting but just as effective explosion finishing command. But after making sure Cinderella was safe and sound, I made my way to the Symphony Master and gave him a swift beating. I decided to cast a few tier 3 magnets on the instruments so they wouldn't be in my way while I pummeled the conductor in 29 seconds. I then remembered that I don't have to stare at Terra's ugly Earthshaker Keyblade anymore, and equipped Stroke of Midnight because it was the coolest looking Keyblade I had at that moment. But while I was making the quick pit stop at the mysterious tower, I went ahead and equipped a couple of fires because those fires weren't going to meld themselves until once more. And after a few more minutes of cutscene skipping, I made it to Radiant Gardens. I went ahead and purchased a couple of blizzards while I was here because once I had more room in my command deck, I needed to start working on Leaf Bracer. These abilities might sound overkill, but I was low-key afraid of the final boss because I remember how difficult it was during my first casual playthrough, so better safe than sorry. Now, the worst part about Radiant Gardens is that Aqua and Ventus are present during the Trinity armor encounter, which means no D-Link. So this boss fight took a disgusting 56 seconds. But after the fight, both of my Kyras were ready to meld, so I was finally able to cross off the first ability from the wanted list and welcome Second Chance in with open arms. And while I was at it, I went ahead and just wasted the blizzard I just bought and melded Sliding Dash and Fire together so that I could get the Fire Dash command with Leaf Bracer. This was another killing two birds with one stone situation because I would need Fire Dash later for Thunder Surge, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. So I then spent a few minutes getting lost in Radiant Gardens before I stumbled upon Breg and absolutely dog-walked him. The Ventus D-Link is actually a cheat code. This boss fight did take 1 minute and 15 seconds thanks to his dumb little FPS time wasting thing though. Next was Olympus, and as soon as I landed on the world and casted a few tier 3 magnets, I finally leveled up my fires enough to get once more. So now I had all 3 of the abilities I wanted, which just means I needed to max out the commands they were tied to so that I could have them permanently as toggleable items in the menu. So now if I happen to die during the run, it will be very embarrassing. But after clearing out the Unverse from the Coliseum and making more room in my command deck for Thunder so I could get working on the Thundara I needed for Thunder Surge, it was time to go face good old Zach. And I'm not gonna lie, he almost got the better of me during round 2 because I exhausted my D-Link very early in round 1 and totally forgot that I could just use a shot luck to take him out instead of just running around like I never held a controller before. Anyway, round 1 took 15 seconds and round 2 took 53 seconds. Next, I decided to head to Disney Town where I promptly lost at Kingdom Carts and had to do it all over again. Listen, there was bound to be at least one fail this run, and I'm just glad the first and potentially only one was to a crappy racing minigame that's all jank and no brakes. But now that we're nearing the end of the game, I can finally declare that out of all the max level playthroughs that I've done after an early game grind, Birth by Sleep is definitely the most fun out of the bunch. Just don't tell Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 that I said that. Anyway, it was now time to head to Deep Space, which was pretty uneventful all things considered. I was able to meld my Thunders together to make Thundara, which brought me one step closer to Thunder Surge, and then I ran past every encounter until I made it to Sparky. I tried my hardest to take him out before he possessed the blasters, but I wasn't quick enough. It only took 27 seconds though, and I got Hyperdrive, so it's still a huge W. It was then Neverland's turn to feel Terra's wrath, so I bullied my way through the world and definitely did not get lost in the process. I eventually found myself at the end of a 10-second Peter Pan encounter, and after making it back out into space after finishing the world, I leveled Thundara enough to meld Thunder Surge, which meant it was time to really cause some destruction because by this point, all of my abilities were now permanent, so I loaded up my command deck full of Thunder Surges. And a couple of Kiragas because, you know, can never be too careful. The first person to feel the wrath of Thunder Surge was Master Ericus, and that old man could only last a measly 29 seconds against the uber busted move. But the rampage didn't stop there because now there were only 3 boss fights between me and the credits. So I headed back to the Keyblade graveyard and showed Vanitas why he should consider worshipping our Lord and Savior, the Thunder Surge. However, I didn't actually use Thunder Surge here because I was trying a speedrunning strat that I saw a few weeks ago, but it didn't work out too well. I was still able to defeat Vanitas in 36 seconds, and then it was Master Xehanort's turn to feel the thunder. But this time, I actually did spam Thunder Surge like no one's business and silenced him in 35 seconds. But now it was time for the real star of the show, the reason I didn't mindlessly mash attack the entire game and follow through with my grocery list, Terra. Now, I could tell you what happened here like I did with the other bosses, but I'd rather just show you what happened. Okay, block doesn't work. Block's broken. He's in phase 2. Let's go, dude. Under an hour and a half. So, if you were keeping track at home, that final boss fight only took 52 seconds. And I definitely over-prepared for it, but oh man, was that fight satisfying. I know the gameplay wasn't the most impressive showing of skill, but I just spent 60 hours leveling in the first world of the game, so if you were looking for a skillful showcase, then you were definitely looking in the wrong place to begin with. But if you add everything up, you'll see that it took 60 hours, 3 minutes and 53 seconds of grinding in the Enchanted Domain, 6 minutes and 55 seconds of melting bosses' health bars, and 1 hour, 15 minutes and 57 seconds of traversing the worlds and skipping cutscenes, which gives this early game grind and playthrough a total time of 61 hours, 26 minutes and 45 seconds. But was it worth it? Maybe.